All right, folks, let's go ahead and get started. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to our latest Db2 Tools Community webcast. Before I hand you off to Andy and the team, just a couple of things that I need to cover. First, a few questions along the way, and we always hope that you do. Please do put them in the questions box right under the GoToWebinar control panel, and we'll get through as many of those as we can during our time together today. If for some reason we don't get through everything, if something requires some research or we run out of time, I'll make sure the team gets everything they need to follow up with you after. We are recording the session, so if you have someone you want to share it with, please feel free to reach out to any of us and we'll get you that link. I'll also put the replay out in the Db2 Tools community either later today or tomorrow morning. And the last thing for me is we want to make sure these sessions are valuable. So I pulled together a short survey that's going to pop up at the end of the webcast. If you can stick around and give us some feedback, we would all really appreciate it. That's it for me. Take it away, Andy.
Thanks, Len. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us for our first community update call of 2023. We do appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. Just a quick note on cadence moving forward. We are going to pivot to a quarterly cadence for these calls. So our next call after this one, you should expect to be in the June timeframe. So and with that, we'll go ahead and get started. Quick disclaimer about, you need to make a pivot on anything we talk about here. It's our privilege and opportunity to do so. So just be aware of that. Product owners, my name is Andrew Badgley. I'm the lead product owner for the Db2 Tools products. Myself and Jakob and Rava and Srini and Ison, we are the product owners for the tools. And today we also have with us Dennis Tronin and Martin Sacha, who will be presenting topics as well. And our agenda today, we have log analyzer topics, fast load, fast unload, as well as RC migrator, RC query, thread terminator, and sysview for DB2. And with that, Dennis, I believe you have the first couple of topics.
Thank you, Andy. So today I'm going to cover a couple topics. Let's start with the recent log analyzer enhancement. Yeah, and specifically that applies to the altered table space support in our DDL reports. So let's go ahead. And it's just literally one slide. So there are two PTFs that are noted here. So write them down. This is the PTF that introduced the extension of the altered table space syntax that we currently support in the log analyzer. So for the DDL report and the undo and redo SQL generation specifically, we now, when we're reconstructing the altered table space syntax, we added support for the buffer pool, DSIs, insert algorithm, max partitions, murmur cluster, and the seg size attributes of the DDL. So we continue closing the gap and keep up with the version support. And that's as simple as that. Next slide. And any question?
No questions so far.
Okay, wonderful. So then let's continue. So with the similar pace, I'm going to be talking about the fast load. So we improved the elapsed time specifically for the PBR partition by range table spaces. To go to the next slide. So there are two PTFs referenced here. This is very recent PTFs, and we introduced the parallel processing when we are loading the PBR table spaces partitioned by range. And specifically when these conditions are met, we run the processing in parallel. So now, before we could run the parallel when you have multiple input data sets, now we added support for a single data set in DDM data set. And it's going to be working if you load with the parameters say cluster no sort cluster and index, no sort none, yes sort cluster index. So we don't support the all option yet. And we got a very decent elapsed time improvement. So in the lab, we observed around 70% reduction in the elapsed time for the PBR table spaces. And at the same time, we also improved about 20% for all other table space types. Of course, the mileage can vary. This is what we observed in the lab. So but you should expect a decent enhancement when you apply these PTFs. Okay, next slide. That would be any feedback.
No questions.
Okay, I hope I don't go too quickly. Another popular tablespace type, PBG partition by gross. So we did some optimization on the compressed ones and added additional zip offload support. Okay, there are a number of PTFs. Again, note them down here. If you want, then that's definitely worth applying right away. So we improved the elapsed time just a little bit for the PBG table spaces for the compressed ones. And we observed around 5% improvement when this PTF is applied. And more importantly, we really increased the zip offload for all kind of tablespace types. So while the title says, PBG compression, that's where the major focus is, but at the same time, we improved the architecture and increased, zip offload around, 40%. So additional than before can now run on zip. So it's not 40 in total, but it's before and after PTF. So with PTF, you get 40% more versus what it was. So, and again, as with the previous enhancement, again, mileage can vary. This is what we observed in the lab. So, but you should get some gain for sure here. Okay, next slide. And any question?
Nothing so far.
Okay, so I'm probably doing a great job, or these topics are just table stakes. Okay, and I don't think we have Martin, so I will cover that part as well, which is enhancements to the fast unload. Let's go ahead, and it's this time is more user focused, user experience focused. So we define we define a new syntax to be able to exclude specific columns from an unload. So there is a PTF LU 08873. So as you might expect, we in the unload support the select syntax when you specify what columns you want to unload. And the issue is that if you unload from a table with multiple columns, it could be sometimes error prone because you need to generate a really long list of columns in your select statement. And to simplify that, and that matches in a number of scenarios that we observed, that it would be good just have a new syntax added so that you can select all columns except some of them. So instead of creating an index, etc., we just introduce the syntax. So let's go in the next slide. At the next slide to look at. So that's a situation that I'm talking about. As you see, this is select statement unloading data from the sysIBM syscolumns table. And did you notice we just missed one of the columns, type schema. So which is long syntax, very easy to make a mistake is when you have a situation like that. So, and this is the new syntax. In this case, it is very obvious that you unload from every column except type schema. So, and hopefully this is usability enhancement that would be valuable to you. And let's see if there is any question on this one. Hopefully syntax is simple enough to get familiar and get used. Okay, looks there is no question.
No questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Dennis. Appreciate that, and appreciate you also covering the slides for fast unload as well. At this point, Srini, are you ready to talk about the admin products?
Yes, Andy.
And I think if you could switch sharing over to him, please.
Yep, doing it right now.
All right, I can get that. And I believe you should be able to see my screen now.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, all right. Hey, hi, this is Srinivas Adupa, and I am the product owner for the DB2 admin suite of products. And today I came here to talk about a couple of enhancements, under admin. First one is under migrator, and the second one is under RC query. And the first one is about DB2 13 enhancement, which is PBG to PBR2 conversion through alter table, alter partitioning, and that's exclusively from syntax checker for the time being. And just before I begin that, the remaining products under admin are under development right now. So all the things that I'm going to talk about for today's session is going to be exclusively applicable for syntax checker, and and also that's related to alter table, alter partitioning. So as you know that the alter table, alter partitioning, that's the syntax that's been introduced in DB2 13 for converting PBG objects into PBR2 with an alter table statement. And this is the sample alter statement that I, as a user, have provided. If you observe alter table, and this is what my sample table name for the time being, and this is the perfectly working scenario for DB2 13, assuming the table has 4 partitions on it. And as soon as you have provided the input DDL, which is on the top side of the screenshot, and the below side of the screenshot, the below side of the same page is having the output of the syntax checker, which is completely successful, which is completed successful and then found no issues. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that I also wanted to tell you some of the other negative scenarios as well. As you know that DB2 13 always expects the last partitions ending at keyword must be ending at either max value or min value, which is a pretty basic or must and have scenario. And then here in this particular screenshot, I have intentionally not given that the last partitions ending at keyword, and then rather I've just provided it as a simple number, 499, 199, 299, 399, and the last partition is going to be ending at 499, right? Through syntactically, of course, it looks like a kind of correct one, but then DB2 13 expects that the alter table to be ending at either max value or min value based on the order of data within that particular table, right? While the table was being created. So essentially, when you provide this input, this as the DDL to the syntax checker, we are going to get an error. And then again, another scenario is that that's all about the data capture changes. When the when the PBG is being created with data capture changes, the number of partitions for PBR2, which is the relative page numbering table space, it must be at least the maximum at least the max partitions of the PBG. Otherwise, we are also again going to get an error too. Even that is also taken care by syntax checker at the moment. And then for the time being, I've just provided the output of this particular syntax where I'm going to get an error indicating that the last partitions ending at is having an error. This is the next screenshot that I just wanted to show you that, if you observe this, yeah, the last partition, it was given in a way that 499, and then we are getting an error saying that the invalid limit key for syntax checker for partition 4. And the next thing is again, the same way that I thought of adding this, another screenshot for even this thing as well, even for the data capture changes as well. But again, this is also exactly similar to, the same kind of error that we are currently getting, but then some kind of other meaningful error which related to data capture changes and the number of partitions on it. Before I get on to the next screen, any questions or any feedback on it?
No questions so far, Srini.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and the PTF numbers are also updated in this particular slide. right? You can always download and then play with it. And the next thing is that on RC query, this is about supporting the new temporal table clauses which were being added in the middle of Db2 12. And then these are the extra clauses that's been added for create or alter table DDLs. Within Db2 12, there are totally 4 clauses that's been added for inclusive, exclusive, period for business time. Of course, there were some of these clauses that were already added from Db2 12 basic itself with version 500, but then Db2 12 has been enhanced later on by having a little modifications on these clauses as well, and that's where we have added that extra functionality as well to Db2 to RC query from while generating the DDL for create or alter table DDLs. And then I have just provided a couple of screenshots on it. This is a simple DDL for a create table, and then intentionally I've just grabbed the syntax which is currently available for period for business time, and also including the inclusive clause where the table has been created like that. And the next screenshot that I'm going to talk about is created with exclusive, but then created with period for business time as well. If you observe that this period for business time, which has been created with business start and business end, and whereas the business end is created with exclusive clause. So both of these two extra functionalities that were generating a kind of either irrelevant DDL or generating a kind of error scenarios before, but then that's been rectified right now, and then it's already been delivered as well as part of these PTF LU09136 through LU09138. So that's pretty much from my side. Any questions or suggestions?
No questions or comments.
Thank you. That's all, Len.
All right, let me give it back to Andy.
Thank you, Srini.
Thank you.
Good to see the updates to RC Migrator and RC Query. Okay, next on our agenda is Thread Terminator. For Thread Terminator, we've made some enhancements to display some additional ZParms. Here's the list. If you want to count them up, there are 21 of them that we've added. Here's the PTF as noted that will add these additional ZParms. The ZParms are added to our view display, so the VZ option in Thread Terminator here. And then here's an example of one of the new ZParms that you'll see. I will save you the slides of 20 more slides of screenshots. The slide presentation will be available after the call, so that you can get and download that and see the full list from there.
Nothing so far, Andy.
Okay. And so that was Thread Terminator, 21 ZParms. Moving on to SysView for DB2. We have made some reporting updates in SysView for DB2. The first one is related to rebind phase in. Rebind phase in support was an enhancement introduced by IBM on DB2 version 12, function level 505. And it impacts how the ability to do a rebind of a package that has open threads on it. And if that happens, it actually makes a copy of that package to still do the rebind. And as part of that, they made updates to ifkids 3 and 329 to add in the copy ID number. Now, you also need IBM APAR PH05989 in order to actually get that copy ID populated. That was something that we found and reported to IBM as we were doing this work. So in order to see the copy ID numbers that we end through SysView for SysView for DB2, please make sure you have that APAR on first. It doesn't have an impact on behavior of the product, just you need the copy ID populated. We have updated the IQL reports, as well as making sure that the explain facility is updated to pull in the correct package copy information. And we've also updated the archive tables to include the package copy ID information. Here's a list of the 6 reports within SysView for DB2 that we have updated. And in addition to those reports, here's an example of what the report panels look like. You can see we've added a copy ID field, and where we will show that copy ID number. In addition to copy ID support, with part of DB2 13 M100, IBM has added additional group buffer pool information related to residency status in the data and directory group buffer pools. This is to actually help you, provide you additional information in diagnostics and performance tuning, especially in the areas of improving structure sizing and workload balancing. We've updated our IQL reports and also created a new subsystem exceptions to help you catch scenarios where you might want to pick up some attention in those areas. Here is the list of reports that have been updated within SysView for DB2. And all these reports, they add in the new metric fields as part under the report panels. Then here is a sample screenshot of the exception fields. This actually says package history detail report. I got that title wrong, sorry. This is actually showing you the exception fields in the subsystem exceptions. And moving on from there, we do have new IFKIT information related to split indexes. This is part of DB2 13 M501, providing greater detail into index splits to help you identify and make address performance problems. So we've added a new index split summary report, a new history report, and a new history summary report. These are new reports because it is a new IFKIT, so it's IFKIT 396 for the additional information. The pre-existing IFKIT for index splits has been repurposed into the 396. We also have a batch report. We updated the batch report to include the IFKIT 396 information as well, and added a new IQL exception around the index splits. Here are a couple of sample screenshots. Here's the summary report, and here's the batch report, as well as the IQL exception. Any questions or feedback related to the reporting and enhancements to SysView for DB2?
Nothing so far.
Okay. Huh. I've got to fix my email. I forgot to put my email at the bottom of the slide. Oops. Okay, well, that is our topics for today. So I just want to, as part of closing, mention that all of the enhancements that you saw today, we did provide the individual PTF numbers on the slides, to get those individual enhancements. Also, they're available as part of our level set 07, which was published at the end of February. And here is a full list of the enhancements that are pre-reqed as part of that level set. The bolded ones are the ones we discussed today. So you can see there are things that we did not cover today that are included as part of that pre-req chain. And they do include the individual PTFs if you just want to pick and choose. Also, we have a validation project. I mention this on all of our calls. And if you would like to be part of the conversation before we start developing things instead of just part of the conversation after we develop things, please do consider joining our validation project and providing your feedback and your contributions there. We're always looking for more people and more users to participate and help guide the direction of our tools. And with that, thank you, everyone. Thanks to the presenters. We really appreciate you guys taking the time. Thanks, Len, for keeping us all on track. And we'll talk to everybody in 3 months.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.